Good, head back?
Yep.
Hey everybody, it's Dick here. Today I'm on the Royal Enfield Classic 350. I've gotten lots of requests on the channel to get one on the road and give you all my impressions. I continue to be very happy with my own Classic 500, and it will always remain in the fleet as far as I'm concerned. But with Fannie eyeing another bike for her own, a Royal Enfield is always worth a look in my opinion. The new Royal Enfield Classic 350 is an electronically fuel-injected, air-cooled 349.34cc single-cylinder engine, putting out 20 brake horsepower and 19.9 foot-pounds or 27 newton meters of torque. It runs a 5-speed wet multi-plate clutch. It has single ABS disc brakes front and rear. It rides on non-adjustable 41mm forks up front and 6-stage preload adjustable twin shocks out back. It looks the part. Let's see if it performs and if Royal Enfield was able to retain the ride quality along with the aesthetic charm of the old classic.
I'm sitting very upright.
Yep.
And it seems so much smaller. That's really weird. That's really weird.
I wonder if you could start it in neutral on the side stand. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that the geometry is a lot more cramped on this, even if the
mathematics and the schematics and the measurements are equal or near equal, because I feel very squat in this thing. It's amazing how much geometry does for a motorcycle.
Yeah.
All right, here I come. So my thoughts on the Classic 350 right away is that it feels a lot smaller than the Classic 500, and the engine obviously works harder for what you're asking it to do, but on these roads at 55 miles an hour, if you aren't afraid to blow up this engine, it's a lot more sporty and spirited than I think a lot of people will give it credit for. I'm riding it, kind of running it like a Honda 250 single and throwing it into these turns, and I'm getting a real fun ride. I'm kind of sitting over it and treating it a bit like a hooligan. Those rear brakes are a lot better than the Classic 500. I'm running it to its envelope, and I'm just about hitting 60 miles an hour on these roads, which is the speed limit, which means I feel like I'm running to the edge, but I'm still within the law. I'm getting really nice, well, not nice, but usable engine braking, so I'm not braking before these turns. I'm just kind of rolling off and then rolling on, but it is really quite fun. Brakes are adequate. And then you're just kind of putting along. I did not have a lot of high expectations for this, but I think if you're willing to rag it, it's a fun little bike. I'm sorry I left it in the dust a little bit there, but I wanted to see if this thing could be ragged. Like when you're on a Classic 500, you're limited, it kind of gets exacerbated at the top end of the rev range, and I was trying to see how far I could run this out and kind of run it like a little hooligan bike. Because I was, everyone's always concerned about things being underpowered. And it definitely is a different ride to the Classic 500 that I have. But if you are willing to rag it a bit and put up with or ignore the kind of hammer on a tin roof sound that the engine makes, this thing is really quite planted in these turns, a lot more than I would have given it credit for going into it. And it slows you. Like, the engine braking isn't phenomenal, but when you come off the accelerator, the engine stops moving. Like, it slows the rear wheel. I haven't done any real big engine braking on downhill to see if I get that slipping sensation that you've gotten, but I am a lot more confident in ragging this engine. And the complete lack of vibrations comparatively to the Classic 500 is a revelation on this bike. So I'm a lot more impressed than I would have given it credit kind of going into it. I had a nice little torque punch there going into third gear. I'm not struggling up this hill.
What do you think about it being a replacement for the Classic 500?
Well, it's a completely different bike.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I just don't think if somebody is looking for an updated Classic 500, this Classic 350 is not it. It's a whole different experience.
No, it's not. It's not visceral at all. It's not. It looks like it, but it doesn't ride like it. It doesn't have the torque, but it also doesn't have the vibe. So I mean, this has. The thing is you're not riding a Classic 500 at 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. I was caning this at 60 in fourth gear. There were no vibrations. Yeah, the engine was like, what are you doing to me? Why are you doing this to me? But if you look at this bike as kind of like a throwaway bike, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to hammer this bike, I was having a real hoot in those turns, hammering the shit out of this bike. And if you want a little Sunday putt-putt bike, this is a perfect Sunday putt-putt bike, because it's not overly torqued. There's not a lot of performance, and you don't have the vibrations. It's more comfortable than the Classic 500. So this, in some respects, might be a better bike than the Classic 500. It doesn't have the character of a Classic 500, but I'm having a lot of fun on it. I'm having that same Royal Enfield fun. Do you know what I mean? 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour type of thing. And there's some vibrations. Like, my butt's going to sleep.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm keeping the gears low so I can have that snappy throttle response. Don't try and keep up with me here. I'm going to try and go through this a little quicker. But I'm keeping it in low gear to have that snappy throttle response. So I'm getting a little more vibes than I would if I was trying to do like a comfort ride. But I mean, the engine is definitely louder when you're hammering on it. You can hear that single going, and there's almost a rattle, like something's loose, but it's not. If you can ignore that, in most motorcycles, the reason I short shift is because I don't want the engine to sound like it's being abused. But if you're happy to abuse it, this is really fun in these turns. There's sheep up here. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. I can't complain about that. I like that one a lot better than I thought I would. I could like scrambler that thing. I think that would be fun. Put some knobby tires on it. Just rag it.
It's a neat bike. It's a neat bike.
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.